What's up, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite New York Jets subscription podcast, Badlands. I'm your host, Joe Caporoso, joined as always by Connor Rogers. It's been a long, difficult Sunday in the greater New York sports area. We were waiting to record this one until after the Mets game. They just lost a tough one, but 1-1. Still a lot of juice in that series. A better scene right now than our Jets, who we're recording this around 8 o'clock, and I feel like the Jets played like 4 days ago already at this point with how I've ruminated on this loss. We're going to talk about it all now. Jets lose 23-17 in a weird one to process, which is why I'm glad we have our therapy session here again. CR, how we doing? How we feeling? It's been a interesting one today, to put it lightly.
Man, there's been better Sundays than this one. I'll tell you that. It was rough, right? I mean, tough Jets loss. I mean, I was almost able to flush the Jets loss because, and we'll get into all the reasons why from a football perspective. On top of the fact, I'm like, man, Mets are up 1-0. A lot of confidence right now. They lose a tough one in Philly, but you still take the split when you go back to Citi Field. I mean, you had to win one of those two games, and they won one of those two games. You have the home field advantage still, but it's just a tough way to lose when you get walked off. But overall, I mean, I'm going to be honest. This is going to be an interesting podcast. I'm running on like no sleep. I did my first Big Ten college countdown for NBC Saturday night. Woke up at 5:30, got the train down to the city, did the old London Jets game, a very frustrating Jets game where we have a lot to dissect. And yet somehow the Jets on Monday Night Football, like we all thought, are playing for first place against the Bills after all of this, which is really remarkable. I know you've said it. It's more of an indictment on the AFC being surprisingly bad to start the year. Surprisingly underwhelming and disappointing. And that benefits a Jets team that is still figuring things out. It's so fascinating to me, Joe, and I want your thoughts on this. I don't think the Jets are a bad team. I know they're not a contender right now. I think they're a team that has no idea how to put together a good 4 quarters besides the New England game. And until you show you could do that against somebody that doesn't look like a complete punching bag, then you're not going to be taken seriously by your own fan base. And that's what the Jets are trying to figure out right now.
Yeah, I think it's a fair assessment. And I found myself much less bummed about this loss than the Denver loss because – one, I thought they were going to lose this game. I thought they were going to lose like by about one possession and be close. And even though it was a horrific start, that is ultimately what happened. And it was a very Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas era Jets loss. We've seen a version of this game 1,000 times. Now, the bummer is that Aaron Rodgers was supposed to break that cycle, and he's had the ball in his hand 2 weeks in a row with the chance to win the game, and they haven't been able to get over the hump and get it done. That's not all on him, but he's supposed to be sort of the great equalizer that cleanses all of the other issues around the team, and he hasn't been able to quite do that yet while he's getting absolute crap kicked out of him. This was a game where it's not surprising at all that the Jets were sluggish and sloppy out of the gate and then got their acts together in the second half. It was very similar to the last time they played in London with this regime where they fell way behind Atlanta and almost came back. This game was there to be won, and this was a game where they made so many mistakes. Drop passes, a brutal pick six, penalties. Like there was a parade of flags. Sauce Gardner misses most of this game. He also drops an interception in the end zone. The Vikings score a touchdown the next play. No Michael Carter. The Jets don't run the ball at all. Breece Hall does nothing again, 20 yards. All of that, and they are within 25 yards of winning this game. They had it. Garrett Wilson was wide open for the game-winning touchdown with a minute left, and Rodgers missed him. They were waiting all day for that double move, and I don't know if it was called as a double move, but he was wide open, and they missed it. And then you try to force this back shoulder thing where, this whole offense at this point kind of just feels like back shoulder throws, and it feels like way too much of counting on a guy like Allen Lazard to make plays. It was a weird one, and I'm trying to, I don't want to, cope and make excuses. This is a flawed average team in what I think is a pretty flawed average conference. And I just look at what Minnesota did to Houston and what they've done to other teams. And the Jets I feel like they played really badly today, and they're coached really badly, and they were right there to win. And now you look at Denver, they go win by 25 again today. And you're like, is Denver that awful? Or is Denver going to be like a wild card team this year?
I don't think they're terrible. No.
it's hard to say at this point in the season. What's so frustrating is the things that we knew would be issues are just there as these blaring issues. Hackett's play calling, especially in short yardage. Robert Saleh's 1,000-yard stare, and the Jets kind of making repeated mistakes. And it still sucks to see guys like Sauce and Brees not making that leap. Garrett Wilson, to his credit, broke out of that slump. He was awesome today. I think he had a nice, strong, gritty game. It wasn't perfect, but he carried that offense in the second half, and I thought he did a really nice job, and that was encouraging. So, look, like I said, get to 4-4, get to 6-5 at the bye. I understand it's frustrating to watch the team lose 2 games in a row. A lot of teams in the AFC, including Buffalo, are coming off losing 2 games in a row. No one is running away with anything. So if they win Monday night, you're going to feel a lot better about where everything sits. And I do think they could win Monday night, not because they're great, because I think they could put together a few good quarters at the right time. So I don't know. Maybe I should be more upset after this one. I'm not. I was saying on that drive, I was like, they feel like they can score a touchdown here, but they're going to have to get it in a big chunk, and they just missed it. So it feels like they're like this close to really being 4-1. It's not like they lost 37-7 today or they got killed. So I don't know. Am I being too optimistic leaving this game for a team that's 2-3?
I don't think so. I think more of it for me, I agree with you. I actually thought the Jets were going to win this game. I liked them to cover the 2.5. I thought Minnesota was due for a clunky game, and quite frankly, the Jets got it, right? I mean, Darnold did not play well at all. He looked, after their script, and I'm going to get into the Jets script, after the Vikings script, which is very impressive, he looked very afraid to make a mistake. And that was always Sam's problem with the Jets, is he'd either make the mistake or he'd hold the ball because he was afraid to make the mistake, and then he gets clobbered. And that's literally what happened to him today, where he could not get much going. There was a few times that he just got bailed out, and he was like, okay, I'm just going to throw this ball down the field and see if I could draw a flag. Some were penalties, some weren't. Though pass interference on DJ Reed was completely egregious, to the point that I saw many non-Jets accounts just saying this is just out of control in the NFL right now. The funny thing is, you really could have flagged Jefferson. Jefferson pushed off of Reed, which you never know. DJ Reed could get to that ball if it's in play and try to pick it off. They never give the DB that call, so I'm not mad about that. That's just a bad call on Reed. It's a completely made up call. But there was also some calls that were justified. Outside of that, Darnold wasn't comfortable, and I know some people were like, well, is it because of the hit he took to the ribs? I didn't really see him look uncomfortable. I just saw him lose confidence. And some credit to the Jets defense, DJ Reed and Brandon Eccles, who always plays well when he has to play. The Jets defense
Mr.
overall,
Turnover.
The defense overall, and I'm looking forward to getting to the tape. I thought Will McDonald played fast today against a good offensive line. Leonard Taylor had a sack off of a double team. There was a lot of positive signs about the defense. I thought it was interesting. Quincy Williams in the locker room after was very honest that people from the top down need to be accountable. And listening to Quincy, I did not take it as him taking a shot at anyone outside of the defense. I thought he was talking about their unit. And I don't know if he was upset about the collision with Sauce. I do know the big outside run that got called back for a block in the back, although the block in the back, to me, wasn't the reason that play broke off. Sauce came down and lost contain to the outside. As a corner, you need to make sure you make that back cut inside. Sauce looked almost scared at the blocker coming up front of him, kind of tried to dance, and instead of stopping, you have to drive hard into the blocker and take away the sideline so the running back cuts in, and then your guys flowing to the play can make the play. That was a huge run. It was called back, but I'm not accusing Quincy of being mad at him, but if he was mad about that, he should be. He should. Let's call it what it is. Really weak year from Sauce Gardner right now. And listen, it's tough to get on here and kill a guy that's been as good as him for 2 years. But the run defense is to the point where other guys are probably looking around and are like, dude, you got to help us out on these plays because that's not who we have too much pride. So, and here's the reality. I don't care what guys do off the field as long as they're a good person. I'm seeing fans rapidly turn because it was a loud offseason for Sauce. I think the golf thing was great. He's a Twitch streamer. I don't know anything about his life on that, but I play video games, but I'm not a Twitch streamer. But people are pissed. They're like, listen, man, we saw a lot of you. We heard a lot of you, and you look way worse than you've been the last 2 years. He dropped the pick that could have turned the game. That could have been Could have been a big swing.
Absolutely.
I thought the defense was really good today, and I thought Sauce Gardner was not, which is a wild thing to say. We have a lot to talk about with the offense. There is now an issue where, like, we need to always stop saying miscommunications. Rodgers missed throws today. Yep. Over the weeks, he's had miscommunications where Garrett wasn't turned to him, or someone wasn't running the right route. Today, he missed throws. He missed the double move that would have won them the game. He missed Garrett like 3 times, honestly. Yeah. Lazard had 4 drops. Mike Williams didn't really fight back to the ball on that comeback, and if he did, there's a chance he draws a flag. Yeah. Rodgers, it wasn't a great throw, but Rodgers he just missed 3. He did not have a good day, and honestly, it's because he's clearly playing hurt. You got to give Rodgers credit for how he gutted through it, but you almost wonder if Tyrod played that second half, does it give them the spark they needed? Because he's healthy and can run away from the blitzes. I don't know. Overall, I'm like you. I come out of this game and I'm like, man, the ironic part to me is, and you can't really have a rational conversation on Twitter, so this makes sense, but it makes me laugh how many people love making the same low-hanging fruit, like microwave brain IQ joke. Like, yeah, Davante Adams will fix this. So many of the Jets' problems right now
is literally what he would do.
Is because of the second pass catcher on the team, whoever that is, on any given play. So it's so funny to me, whether it's the Lazard killing drops, whether it's, Mike Williams didn't have it on that last play. It's the comfort level, the consistency, Rodgers holding the ball, because when Garrett's not open, it's like, I don't know if I trust anyone right now. Yep. It's very ironic to me. I don't know if that trade's going to happen, but I do find it funny, just the lack of logic in the people that are against it. And man, if this comes down to pinching some coins with the Jets, this is not going to be a pretty Badlands in the middle of the week. I will promise you that. And I'm not saying you have to trade for Davante Adams to save the season, but I'm saying if the cost is a 4th or a 3rd round pick and you owe some money to the guy, we know he wants to be here. Like, let's not be obtuse to that. We know Davante Adams wants to play with Rodgers again, no matter that the Jets are 2-3. I don't ever want to hear that. I'm still wondering why John Franklin Myers isn't on this team when it's strictly financial. So this is a big week for the Jets. It's not just Monday. This is a big couple days here for the Jets.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, look, if they have Adams, they're probably 4-1 right now. They would have won today because Lazard dropped a touchdown. He dropped a pass on the game-winning drive, and he had another drop in there. And Williams, I mean, I want to see Rodgers put that ball up high, like use Williams' height, let him go get it versus the back shoulder. The reality is all those targets are better utilized with Adams. And he makes a couple plays over the last 2 weeks, and the Jets lost by a couple plays the last 2 weeks. They missed a 50-yard field goal at the buzzer to lose, and they missed a double move to win the game. And they were in that spot with Lazard dropping a touchdown, with a horrible 4th and 2 call that never had a chance.
Oh my God.
Where they left points on the field. And with the Sauce interception, you intercept that. There was a penalty on Minnesota on that play. The Jets would have gotten the ball. The Vikings scored the next play. That was a 7-point swing right there. So all these plays were there for the taking. You make one of those plays I just named, you leave the game with a win, and you beat a team who's 4-0. I mean, Darnold didn't do anything today. He completed less than 50% of his passes, didn't throw a touchdown, had 2 turnovers. The defense, much like the last couple of years, constantly put in a terrible spot and rose to the occasion. They had 4 sacks. They forced 2 turnovers. They allowed 1 offensive touchdown. They allowed 16 points. You're supposed to be able to win games with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback when you allow 16 points. Now, this version of the Jets offense has absolutely no running game and needs to give Garrett Wilson 22 targets to be competitive. Another reason you need Davante Adams, because you need to spread it around. And the offensive line has certainly been an issue the past couple of weeks.
It's a little overblown, though, I think.
I think Simpson was really, really good the first 2 games. And now he's kind of like leveled out and he's like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And I think AVT is not the AVT we saw at his peak yet. And they're not getting a great push in the run game, but also some of this is Brees. And we were talking about this in the group chat during the game, and Dan had some good call outs on it. Like, he's just not like hitting it at the second level when it's there.
It's not confident.
He's like you said, overthinking, not confident. Allen wasn't really able to get anything going today either. And it's very hard to be that one-dimensional. Rodgers, I think, threw 54 passes today or something. He got sacked 3 times. Like that. That's never going to be a formula for the Jets. And he's gonna get hurt and miss time at some point. If
he already is hurt.
Hit. Yeah, I mean, he is hurt, right? I thought that it looked really bad, and like his reaction looked really bad. And I was like, oh wow, like that could be it again. And look, his credit, he's tough. He came back in. I think he's going to play against Buffalo. I don't know if Josh Allen should be playing from what I saw today. I think he got like knocked out cold for a second, and he was back in the game.
Out.
And I have no idea, literally no idea what Buffalo was doing at the end of that game from a clock management perspective. I feel like they didn't know the score of the game. It was like bizarre.
McDermott, I admittedly get on here and say that Buffalo has good coaching. When I say that, I mean schematically. I like their coaching from a game situation awareness. And the good thing is sometimes they're so good, they're not always in these situations. When they're in tight ones, they are lost.
Bizarre.
That was bad today.
So, I mean, look, this team, let's hope they get Morgan Moses back because I think Fashinu's struggling a little bit, which let's not overreact. He's a rookie. He's been thrown right out there against 2 good aggressive defenses. Yeah, I think it helps their physicality and mentality when they get Moses back, and maybe that happens for Monday. Maybe it doesn't.
It helps the run game.
I think getting Mosley back will help more than people give it credit for. He's a key leader for them out there, and I think it will give them some juice and energy to have him back. And he's still very good on early downs, and I wouldn't write him off completely. And then, of course, if you add Davante in, that adds a shot of life to the offense, and you're just better. They're just far too dependent on Lazard and a clearly still recovering Mike Williams. We have to accept the reality that, for all the talk, Conklin and Ruckert, like, these guys are who they are. Like Ruckert's going to have 15 catches this year. Like he's a backup tight end. He's like Ben Hartsock, like a little more upside. I'm sorry.
Ben Hartsock's a good call.
And Conklin hasn't had a touchdown in over 2 years. He's like got to be the only starting tight end in the NFL who just never scores touchdowns. Okay player, not bad, not a liability. They need more dynamic weapons on offense, especially if they're not running the ball. So in spite of all this stuff and in spite of the real limitations that this coaching staff has, and Robert Saleh is what his record says he is, and Joe Douglas is what his record says he is, and it's really bad right now, they have a path to still being very relevant and playing meaningful games down the stretch. You look around their division, they need to find a way to, I would say, go 4-1 in their remaining AFC East games. You look at what New England is right now. You look at what Miami is right now, especially if they're not going to bring Tua back. They have games left against Jacksonville. They have games left against the Colts. They have games left against a hobbled Rams team. Cardinals, who were impressive today, knocked off the Niners. Houston has not looked as dominant as everyone thought. They're going to be in these games, and they've been in these games outside of the Niners one. They just have to make the plays, man. Intercept the pass, connect on the throw, make the field goal. They're not that far away, which is why I'm not saying don't bother to get Davante Adams. The season's over. What's the point? Even with this version of the team, they can be 7-6, with a chance to still win the division and make noise. So, look, I hope they are proactive and get Adams done this week. I think it's going to ultimately be a really good, loud, electric environment. Hopefully it doesn't rain, for God's sakes, on Monday night. And you got a chance if you win that game. We'll talk about this a ton more in the middle of the week pod. You're 3-3. You're 2-0 in the division. 2 of your losses came out of conference, which is not going to impact you at all in the tiebreakers. Buffalo's already has 2 conference losses. So it's there for you still. So doesn't mean today didn't suck. Doesn't mean that they should have found a way to win this game. You just have to connect on that Garrett Wilson play. That's it. And that would have been, oh, what a gutsy team this is. They were down 17-0 overseas. They kept fighting and they came back. Now all that shit rings like hollow because they lost. And I hated Saleh's quotes after the game again. He's so
terrible presser.
He's so tone deaf to like what the perception of him is and like how it comes off. And it's not his fault, but it's just demeanor on the sideline. Just infuriates.
His energy sucks, and
his energy is awful. Awful.
I think it honestly though. All right, so listen to this. I'm glad you brought this up.